Today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys mistakes that a lot of low rank players make, or just things that they don't do enough in general. If you're new around here and you want to see more Valorant videos and guides like this, then I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was off angles. This is something I rarely see incorporated into lower rank gameplay, but when you play off angles properly, these can lead to free kills, putting your team at an advantage to secure the round. So first, what is an off angle? An off angle is exactly that, an uncommon angle that the enemies won't expect you to be playing. So an example of a common angle would be tightly around the corner like this, and when you're playing an angle like this, basically, the idea is that you just are hoping that the enemy doesn't check the corner, but when you're playing an off angle, the idea is kind of the opposite. You hope the enemy is checking those common corners and you catch them off guard while they're clearing those angles. So right here is a pretty good example of an off angle, and the reason that an angle like this would catch the enemies off guard is because when the attackers are pushing into garage, they have to clear this corner here, they have to clear this corner, and then they also have to clear window, and then the next common angle, which would be right here at the bottom of the ramp. And while they're doing all of that, they're swinging out into garage, exposing themselves to the angle that you might be playing while being focused on the common angle that they expect you to be playing. So playing an angle like this forces the attackers clearing garage to adjust their crosshair to a spot that they don't expect and they are not used to clearing. So obviously there are downsides to playing an angle like this, such as there's really no way to escape. So if you're playing an angle like this and you start getting rushed through garage, then you basically just have to get as many kills as possible because you have no way to safely and quickly get around cover like you would if you're playing an angle like this, where you just take your shots and back up the ramp. Another thing you need to keep in mind is that you can't keep repeatedly playing off angles because the enemy will start taking those off angles you're playing into account when they are clearing those areas. So consider using off angles once in a while to just change up your position. So while we're on the topic of angles, the next thing I wanted to talk about was repeat angles. So a lot of lower ranked players will commonly hold or repeatedly peek the same angles multiple rounds in a row. When you start playing against better players, they catch on to these things pretty quickly, and when you repeatedly play a common angle especially, you become an easy target for a pre-fire. So an example of this is here on split, right here in mid. This is a pretty common angle that the defenders will be holding from mailroom at the start of the round, and while it can work multiple rounds in a row, eventually the attackers will start lining up their pre-fire before they peek. That way they can pre-fire and kill you before you even have a chance to react and shoot. Staying unpredictable is important to catching your enemies off guard, and when you put yourself in a position to be pre-fired, all you're doing is letting the enemy take advantage of your habits. So if you're repeatedly playing angles like this, I definitely recommend you change up the position you're playing before the enemy team realizes what you're doing and takes advantage of it. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was a common mistake that I see lower ranked players do with their smokes. So especially when attacking, something that I'll see a lot of low ranked players do is use their smokes to cut off parts of sight. For example, like this on Haven C site. So they think that this helps because now nobody playing backside can see them, but in reality, all this does is allow the defenders to rotate without being seen onto the site to start defending it. A lot of the times, the defenders will actually hide in the smokes like this, or even push through them fully with their team or following a flash. With smokes like these, you can't safely clear sight, so whoever has bomb on your team is going to get swung on and pushed as soon as the defenders hear the bomb get tapped. So when you're placing your smokes, you should be placing them in spots to cut off lines of sight while still allowing your team to have room to move and take control of the site. So for example, good smokes for C site here would be at the defender's connector right here and garage. So you can push onto site, you don't have to worry about the garage player peeking you, and you can start clearing backside and you don't need to worry about the rotators peeking you from the defender's spawn. Now you only have to worry about the people playing on the site itself. My friend Bumpa made a good in-depth smokes guide that I highly recommend you guys check out if you want to know more about how to effectively use your smokes. The link will be in the description below. So maybe even the biggest mistake that I'll see newer players make is either intentionally or unintentionally baiting their teammates. So especially when entering a site, you need to be ready to trade the kill on the opponents when they kill your teammates. Far too often I will see the entry fragger flash out, peek, get shot in the back, and then the rest of the team will just run away and hide because they're scared. In reality, the best thing you could do here is peek right after, knowing the location of where your teammate died from and killing the person that killed your teammate while they're focused on your teammate. If you are constantly the last person onto site, you are probably baiting your team a little too much. Baiting also applies to defending as well. If I'm hiding backside in a spot like this, I need to be ready to swing off of a teammate's contact if they're playing on the other side of site. So if a teammate behind boxes here peeks a guy who's at the generator about to plant the bomb, and I'm playing back here, I should be ready to peek the same guy to either prevent my teammate from getting killed completely, or at the very least trade the kill. So the last thing I wanted to talk about isn't necessarily gameplay based, but it's about your comms and how you communicate with your team. So a lot of people have really useless comms. When playing Valorant, you should be communicating important things to help you win the round and just leave out all the useless information or any complaining that you might be doing, for example, after you die. So if you die, the best thing you could do for your teammates is tell them where you died from, where the enemy was, and if you lit them, how lit they are. There's nothing more annoying than when your teammate dies and they don't say where they died from or give you any sort of information. All it does is lead to more people making the same mistake on your team and eventually losing the round. So those are 5 mistakes I think a lot of low rank players make. I hope this video helps you guys out, and if it does and you want to see more Valorant videos and guides like this, then I would greatly appreciate it if you considered hitting that subscribe button.